favorites. We here for the latest. South side or the north side. Not tuned to the greatest. Home team for the home teams. Both sides got our own rings. On the mound or the long ball. But we don't put the wrong strings. Yeah. It's that time of the year now. Wrigley or Gantes or the whole league that we hear now. New show with a new mood. Discussions and interviews. Trade rumors that might be. This is Pinwheels and Knife. Yeah.
Hi.
Shows as alive as the White Sox.
They were doing all right. Today was a big. Well, we'll get into it. All right. Looks like everything else is done. So you guys ready?
Yep.
Let's run it.
3, 2, 1. What's going on, everybody? It is Thursday, September 15th, and you have found the Pinwheels and Ivy podcast. I am your host, Matt Swaski, a.k.a. Father Zoe, a.k.a. Goonies Never Say Die. With me, as always, Mr. Aldo Soto.
Zoe, I know you've been saying that the big free agency move is going to be DeGrom to the Braves, but after this week, it might be DeGrom to the Cubs.
Man, we're definitely going to talk about that later, but there is just big name after big name getting linked to the Cubs, one of which we definitely called on this show weeks ago. And the good Reverend K. Fitz, whose hat says "Make red hats wearable" again, you morons, before you start going nuts in the comments.
Probably reading was a skill, but this is my open letter to Ken Rosenthal.
Oh, we'll get there.
Stay out of White Sox business. I got to say it. Sorry.
Yep. It's still not as funny when anyone says it. And
terribly cliche.
A little bit of a teaser here before stay tuned to the show as we find the origin story of this photo that was submitted. Yes, folks, that is NASCAR Mitch.
It was a leak. I'm like the White Sox. People are leaking things. I did not send in that photo of me hammered at a casino with a 3-time Daytona 500 winner.
Yep. I'm like Littlefinger, man. I got birdies everywhere, bro. I got birdies everywhere, bro. And yep, I got sent to me probably in real time. So we're obviously going to talk about the White Sox and what's going on in this. I don't even know how to describe it right now. I'm actually at a loss for words because, like,
I mean, you mentioned Littlefinger. Maybe I have some backstrap, some good old fashioned Game of Thrones action in the White Sox clubhouse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it could be. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all these big names linked to the Cubs in the offseason. And then, of course, we are going to address the Ken Rosenthal piece done in the Atlantic. And
the open letter behind a paywall.
Yep. That's a good place to start because that's horrible. But yeah, all that and a lot of
to read it.
General tomfoolery. Let's tap this keg. As always, this show is brought to you by Sports Mockery, sportsmockery.com. Make sure you download the app, turn on push notifications, so anytime Mitch runs into a NASCAR winner in a casino, we'll push out the picture for you. Sports Mockery, sportsmockery.com. Hey, the Bears are good. So, I mean, as I said before we went on the show, just to get started here, the White Sox elimination number, as we broadcast this on Wednesday night, is 17. There's about 20 games left.
19, I think now.
19, yeah. Are they out of it? No. It's not over. It's definitely not over. And like I said, Goonies never say die. It's not over. But folks, it's not looking good. Some of the main reasons. So the White Sox go into Oakland. 4-game series. Should have easily probably taken all 4 of those bad boys. They get 3 out of 4 in Oakland.
Could have been a split.
But they take 3 out of 4 in Oakland. They handle their shit in Seattle, go to Oakland, 3 out of 4. And then they come home and they play the lowly Rockies. And they wasn't a very convincing win, I'd say, on Tuesday. They squeak one out, win 4-2. Very boring game, actually, besides Eloy's bomb. And then it rolls into Wednesday, which gets rescheduled into a day game because they have to go to Cleveland to make up a game tomorrow or on Thursday at 12 at noon. They got Cease pitching, Cy Young favorite, Dylan Cease. The Rockies are pitching some lefty named Kyle Freeland that can't say I'm familiar with. You would think the White Sox win that game. They did not. They lost 3-0. 3-0 against a bum ass left-hander.
Same old Sox.
Yep, that was a vintage White Sox game. Cease still got over 7.5 strikeouts. It's a very specific number for those of you that know. And so you got to win that game. And the biggest reason why I'm emphasizing the loss on Sunday and the loss on Wednesday is there's a big kink in the White Sox plans to win the AL Central. And that is that the fucking Cleveland Guardians won't lose a goddamn game. They just won't lose.
Are you sweating them?
Yes.
I thought they peaked, but obviously I misjudged the weakness of their schedule late, which has been pretty fucking much cake.
I mean,
who cares if they keep winning if we can't beat the Rockies with Dylan Cease on the mound and
Well,
runners
that's
on
true.
base almost every inning? I mean, it's kind of a mute point. Got to take care of business on our end too.
That's the thing. It's like for that Wednesday game, they had plenty of chances. But like you said, Mitch, almost
That
every
was a
single
very
game,
winnable game, even
very
despite
winnable.
Cease not
They
having
could
his
not
best.
get a hit.
Yeah,
Just
Runners in
it's-
scoring
It's
position
the same
has
stuff that
been-
we were seeing back in like all summer.
Seb was a couple inches away from an extra base hit, and the guy made a nice play too. But even
Oh,
that, I mean,
It's game inches, bud.
yeah,
I mean, the Guardians lost 5 in a row, and then they went to Kansas City and won 2 out of 3, and then they just ripped off 6 wins in a row. I mean, maybe they play the Sox on Thursday. Maybe the White Sox go in there. They switched up the rotation, so Lance Lynn's pitching. Maybe Big Papa goes in there, just shuts it down.
I think too, because there's a lot of people like arguing on Twitter, like, hey, they should push Cease back a day to pitch in Cleveland since that's the more important game. I think it makes sense because you keep Cease on your regular left, and you have a winnable game there. And Lance Lynn, veteran, he knows what he's doing. I think the right guys and pitching in Cleveland there. I mean, I had no problem with that move.
I mean, hindsight's always going to be 2020. You know what I mean? Now that they lost the Cease game because he got no run support whatsoever, you can easily say maybe that should have been the other way around. But Lance Lynn has arguably been the hottest pitcher in the rotation lately.
Yeah.
And he's got more experience than Cease does in these big games.
Right. Exactly. And even though they lost today, like on paper, that's like an easy win. And you need to stack as many wins as you can. So I was like, you know what? I'll take Cease against the 4th place team. Let's take the easy W and then ride with the big guy in Cleveland. So I thought it made sense. I mean, it didn't pan out, but I don't know what everyone was up in arms about.
And I mean, for argument's sake, too, Cleveland on Thursday is rolling out some dude that looks like a creative player named Hunter Gaddis.
Yeah, I think he's like a rookie, and then I think they have a double hetter this weekend.
Right. He's
so they just have to have
0-1
like
with
an extra pitcher.
He's coming in with a real smooth 21.60 ERA. So that means he'll go 8
Cleveland
shutout
wins.
He'll go 8
2-1.
shutout innings versus the White Sox. And yeah, I mean, shout out to Cleveland. You can't even like knock them. Cleveland's doing what the White Sox needed to be doing, which is beating bad teams.
Like Cleveland does. I mean, I guess we can get into it a little bit. We're talking about the Rosenthal piece and how whatever the discussion is, whose philosophy the team is listening to, or whatever the case that is. But Cleveland just does what they do. They just do it really good. They don't hit for power, but they just hit the ball all the time. They take every extra base they can get. They go first to third on every single, and they have good quality pitching up and down. Their pitching staff. The White Sox, a team that's built to hit home runs, doesn't hit home runs, and we're seeing them in the position that they are. I wanted to bring up this stat. It was brought up in the CHGO post-game show. Against these, 5 pretty bad teams, the Kansas City Royals, the Angels, the Rangers, the Diamondbacks, and the Rockies, the White Sox against those 5 teams are 17-23. 6 games under against 5 very bad teams. Just terrible. Think about if they just were 500 against those teams. They'd be right in first place.
Yeah. And didn't Steve Stone say that at the beginning of the year too? And the way to a winning season is to split with the good teams and dominate the bad teams. And that was the blueprint all along. And unfortunately, the White Sox haven't actually follow their blueprint for success. That's how you win. I mean, and they've actually played solid against the good teams. It's the letdowns, and that could be the mental toughness of this team in a nutshell for the 2022 season. Whoever the hell the manager is, teams that can't get up for the lowly games and that underachieve or play to the level of their competition, those aren't winners. Those aren't champions. They're also rants, and that might unfortunately could. If this keeps up, that is the case with this White Sox team. They're an also ran if they can't figure this out. If you need, just like with a coach, if you need a coach to be out there dancing and shooting fireworks off and putting the bat between their butt cheeks and doing a strip dance just to get you guys going, you're not a very good athlete. You're actually a shit athlete with a bad mental approach, because it takes fireworks to wake you up in a game that you shouldn't need fireworks to wake you up, because pride should be enough at that point and the desire to win. And, this hasn't really felt that way. I mean, we've been talking about it all year too, waiting for like a light switch to turn on, and I still don't see the light switch even now. I mean, it's back to losing to bad teams again.
Every time you think you get a light switch, it's always, there's 3 more steps back. Lose the finale in Oakland, and kind of very unconvincing. It was like, we took our 3 games, let's just lie down for the Sunday one. And then today it didn't, no one. It was ugly. Yeah, it's just like what you said, which is weird too, because last year they beat up on a lot of these really bad teams, and that's kind of how they won 93 games. So almost the complete opposite. They couldn't beat a good team. They couldn't win on the road, but they beat up against really bad teams and they won at home. And this year it's the complete opposite. Mm-hmm. Can't win at home. Can't beat the teams they're supposed to beat.
And they won the division last year.
Yep.
Doing 93 games. They won 93 games last year. With most of these same guys.
I mean, the highlights for the White Sox right now is just how much Eloy Jimenez is absolutely just beasting baseballs right now. Yeah. I mean, Eloy is, if you need, positive things to dwell on, just start at Eloy. Eloy, you got Elvis Andrus. What a great pickup he's been at leadoff. And then the news comes out that Tim Anderson could return to the team as early as next week. Miguel Caro already said shortstop's Tim's position.
Which it should be.
I think I saw Mitch. Yeah, I was gonna say. I think I saw Mitch tweeting about like calling out whoever it was even questioning that. Who the hell was questioning?
There's a lot of people out there like,
you'd be surprised.
Andrews should be. It's ridiculous the amount of people that are like, the way Andrus is playing, they should move. Or the other one I hate is like the first one is always like, Andrus should stay there, and then they're like, if someone should move, it should be Tim. It's like, that makes no sense. Because first off, like defending wise, Andrus is the better defender. He's been in the league longer. It's going to be an easier transition for him to learn how to play a new position than it is for Tim Anderson. So that makes no sense to me whatsoever. And 2, even if there was only one spot open between the 2 of them, everything that Tim Anderson's done for you guys in the past 3 years, you're going to forget about it because of 2 weeks for some journeyman shortstop to get hot. Like, give me a break. And Elvis has been great. I love Elvis. But Tim Anderson's earned that spot. How quickly we forget that he's made this team relevant the past 3 years.
But can I also throw this into there? Wouldn't it be bad managing to just simply ignore the hot hand and just simply go back to the basics when the hot hand is what's winning games? Isn't that something? I'm not saying Elvis Andrus just needs to be in the lineup, is what I'm saying. No matter where the hell, he's the kind of guy that can handle a shift anywhere else. But you'd be insane to go, thanks for the free fish, Elvis. We're done with you now, though. We're going
second base.
Yeah, he's got to be in the lineup. He can move to second, like you said. You're right. He's a veteran. Do you think Elvis Andrus, after playing for the Rangers organization and then playing for the Oakland Athletics organization, and now is in the hunt for a playoff spot, gives 2 shits where he plays? If you told him to go play left field, he'd be like, "Thanks, coach. Let's win a fucking ball game." He just wants to win. He's here he's not here to enjoy the ride. He's here to help take this train into the station, and that's what vets do. That's why he's such a valuable pickup, and he has been since he was. They got him off the scrap heap.
So Elvis Andrus, every step of the way since he's gotten into Chicago, all he's said in every interview is, "I'm here to do one thing, and that is win." Elvis is a better defender. He can, in my opinion, make the move to second a lot more seamlessly. Tim was the starter for the fucking All-Star game at shortstop. You put him back at shortstop, but the way that I see this playing out, you keep Elvis leading off. I know that's Tim's spot, but he's not going to be able to do the rehab stint like we want him to do to get back into this. So you keep Elvis in the leadoff spot, and then you give Tim what they're doing with Luis Robert, and you throw him in that bottom third of the lineup until he shows that he's all the way back. Maybe bat him ninth. Try to sell him on the whole fucking double leadoff bullshit that they tried earlier this year. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't. I don't think you can go, especially at this point of the season. You can't just have Tim come in cold and be like, leadoff spots back to you.
Yeah,
Completely. Yeah.
Let him ease into it. Let him ease into it, like Big Ben in a bathroom stall. You know, you need to have that adjustment period for him, and throwing him in the, you know, again, bad coaching would be saying Tim right here in the lead, right back as if it's midsummer and he's been playing every day. That's bad. That would be bad coaching. That's bad lineup, you know, manipulation and usage, whatever. Tim needs an opportunity to get his feet wet and kind of ease back in. You know, he's not taking a cannonball into a cold pool. He's not that kind of guy. That's not his thing.
Especially coming off of finger surgery with his middle finger on like the lead hand for batting. Like that's going to take a while, especially if there's not a ton of rehab and the minor league season's winding down. Just swinging the bat. So we don't even know how good he is going to be there. So I do agree with. You cannot put him back at the top of the lineup, especially with the way Andres is hitting. Even today, I mean, Sox couldn't get anything going. He had 2 hits and he was robbed of a third one on his first at bat. So it makes no sense to move him from the leadoff spot. And yeah, everything you guys said, I completely agree.
Ralph, whatever you're drinking, boss, pass some this way. Ralph said Tim should play second base to prepare for next season when the Sox sign a top tier shortstop free agent. He did finish it saying LOL JK, but yeah, that's just never.
I have a question too. Wasn't Pollock in the leadoff spot against lefties hammering too?
He's been hammering lefties.
I feel like there was something about him before. Maybe it was before Elvis, where they were like,
he had like it was like 2 games, dude. It wasn't worth him staying there, and he's definitely regressed towards the mean, which is a shitty ass mean this season. Yeah, he's been a big spurts guy this year. Like you get him in spurts, and
he's that guy that the Dodgers soured on last year, like in the first month to the season when they started kicking the tires on KB. They were ready to give him the kaboot last year early, probably for the same reason that obviously now you're, as Sox fans, you're seeing that it's just too almost unpredictable.
Yeah, it's way too streaky. I mean, that's just what it is at this point. So, I mean, you got to put all that shit aside though, and you got to just look at it, in my opinion, in the lens of you're getting an all-star short player back in your lineup. You know, and you just kind of have to hope that, and you know what Tim does, and he's proven it before in the limited playoff experience he has, but Tim has that dog in him, man. Tim loves that national spotlight. He loves it when it's all eyes on the White Sox. He is definitely a primetime player. You know, like anytime the Whites in the playoffs, or if they have like the game of the week, or in the fucking Field of Dreams game when everybody was watching, Tim shows up. And so we can very easily see that Tim come back when he comes back from injury. But when the White Sox give me my weekly call when they ask me what they should do, my opinion is they should definitely keep Elvis in the leadoff spot. But Elvis, this is more a credit to him too, where I feel like he is that mature and he is that much of a leader and he is that kind of player where he'll be like, yeah, I got second. Like, let's go. Like, let's ride. You got to imagine, especially with Cairo coming out and saying, like, when Tim comes back, it's his. You got to imagine Elvis is taking reps at second right now. You know what I mean? Like,
he's probably is. That's the thing, we don't see that.
He even had a quote a couple weeks back when he was asked about this, and he's like, "Yeah, I mean, with all the shifting too, I've played on the right side a bunch this year, so I don't think it's going to be a problem with the transition." And I agree with you. Like there was reports he was working with Romy Gonzalez on turning double plays like before every game. So I think exactly what you said. He's smart enough to know, hey, when Tim's coming back, I better start learning how to play second base so I can stay in the lineup. So I think he's on top of it.
And then the last thing I'll say on that though, too, is Elvis's agent spoke when he was like very first released from Oakland. And someone asked, like, what is he looking for in a team? And number one, obviously, he said he wants to go somewhere where he has a chance of winning. But the second thing was he said that he's only going to go somewhere where he's going to be an everyday player. So I got to imagine part of the way that the White Sox courted Elvis was you're the shortstop till Tim comes back, and then you'll start at second base, but you'll still play every game for the rest of the season.
Yep. That would just be a professional thing to do in making any kind of transaction.
Which the White Sox have not earned that benefit of the doubt, though.
And Elvis is probably like, does that mean I don't have to stay in Oakland? And yeah, okay, sure. You can shove a hot coal poker up my ass. I don't care. Let's get out. Like he had to have taken. I mean, that would have been insane for them to not give that. But he knows the score. He's a vet. Like this is all under the assumption that Elvis doesn't already know the score. And let's be honest, Elvis has known the score since the moment he signed and he moved over to Chicago to the South Side. Like he's not going to be a problem. It's almost like just fodder for conversation in the sense that the only conversation piece is really where do you put Tim in the lineup as he returns is really the question.
Personally, I'm kind of talking myself more and more into batting him ninth.
So I was kind of rolling my eyes when you first brought up keeping Andrews at the leadoff spot with TA coming back, but then I kind of forgot how much Tim Anderson sucked in July and August.
Yes, before he got hurt, and then
he was fucking awful.
And Andrew is fucking balling up there. He's a very good leadoff man right now.
Broke, don't fix it.
There's really he's doing everything you could want. He's stealing bases for him. He's hitting for average. He's providing a little bit of pop. Like I don't know what more you could want out of a leadoff hitter with everything he's been doing the past couple weeks.
Yep.
But can we say enough? We say enough about Miguel Cairo's leadership, but we need to talk about Elvis Andrus' leadership in that clubhouse and what his appearance has done to this White Sox team. That there's a correlation between success and Elvis Andrus setting foot in that locker room. I am sure of it.
It's not hurting. That's for sure. I'm trying to look right now.
Well, especially when you have like Miguel Cairo's giving his speech, like whoever doesn't want to be here can get out. And Andrus clearly does want to be there because, like you said, he's been wallowing in Oakland for the past 2 years. So he's like, I just want to play for a winner. So you see a veteran guy going out there every day and busting his ass. And it's a lot easier for that message to sink in, especially when you're Miguel Cairo, when you got someone that walks in as a veteran that people I'm assuming respect going out there and doing just that. So I think, it spreads. It's kind of like a virus.
Yep.
And Elvis Andrus is like me here in Vegas. You can't get any Chicago style pizza here. You can't get a good tavern style here. So Rosati's is actually delicious here, and I'm happy to have Rosati's, even though it's not that great.
Yep.
That's Elvis Andrus returning to the South Side, getting to the South Side.
And then the other thing that people have brought up in the comments, and it's been a talking point, Luis Robert returned back to the lineup. He needs to eliminate those at-bats where he looks like he wants to be anywhere else besides the plate.
He's just trying to hide his pain.
Well, that's the thing, though. In Tuesday and Wednesday's game, he's hitting the shit out of the ball. He's just hitting it at people. I think his first two at-bats on Tuesday was like 106 exit velo and then 100 exit velo. And then his base hit today was like close to 100. It was what? Hold on, I just had it because we're all about facts here. It was 97 miles per hour. Like he's hitting the good contact again, but some of the swings he has, especially on the breaking balls, he looks so disinterested.
Yeah. Even when he made like today, I was at the game today and like it was dirt cheap tickets. So we had pretty good seats. The one ball he hit down the line that he made contact on, you could tell like he had a grimace on his hand, like after he made contact, and he was like looking at it at first base a couple of times. Like, so it's pretty evident that even when he's hitting it, like he's not 100% at this point.
So I didn't see that, but I'm glad you brought that up because then I know you're in a very critical final 20 games or whatever, but at what point do you just realize like he's not helping right now? Like we just need to shut this down.
Especially when you invested all that money and time in the future.
It's so tough.
Right, but it's not an easy call. Like it's not like it's a. Like,
at this point, it's all hands on deck. Like it doesn't. At this point, it's shit or get off the pot. So feelings need to go out the window. Feelings, fuck your feelings. At this point, you got 2 weeks left to play. 2.5, 3 weeks. So your feelings, at this point you haven't earned like the clear without a doubt spot or opportunities, and someone else has, you missed the boat.
I will say this for Robert. I appreciate the fact that he's out there trying to play despite being in obvious pain instead of, especially like the playoffs on the line, instead of like Eloy Jimenez where, I swing, something didn't feel right, but I'm right back in the lineup the next day after taking himself out of the day. Like stuff like that. Like that's tough to see. Where Robert, at least, he's trying to gut it out. So I can appreciate that.
But the tough part with Robert is like the backup is like Adam Engel. and AJ
Right, that's-
Pollock. It's not good. No one has earned that over Robert.
Well, that's the question too. Is the replacement at 100% better than Luis Robert at 60%? Right? Which one gives you the better chance to win? And that actually, because he's so fucking good when he's healthy, it's actually a question. And I mean, those other guys haven't been great, so that helps, muddy the water, I guess.
I mean, as I said it since the very beginning of the injury, the White Sox just fucked up from the very, very beginning. They should have never trotted him back out there when he wasn't ready.
Well, I
That
mean,
was so weird too. Like he could barely, like he looked like he had like Captain Hook, like he had a hook hand trying to hold the bat. Sometimes it was
he
weird.
was swinging the fucking bat with
One-handed.
hand.
MVP in front of everyone.
It's like in second grade when they're teaching you like how to hit off the tee in like gym class, and there's like the one person that just like swings like with the one arm. Like that was him taking hacks.
Now,
These aren't drills to actually like get top hand or bottom hand strength either. These are like, ow, that hurts, so I'm just not going to use it.
I will admit there was a part of me that was watching that being like, how dope would it be if he goes deep right now one-handed? Like
The first time I've done that.
I know, but he would just be a fucking legend if he
Well,
did
Zoe,
that,
you know who
but-
did go deep recently? Oscar Colas. There's the guy who's earned it.
He's put that over
Come on,
the
Mitch.
scoreboard. Holy
Come
fuck.
on, Mitch.
Mickey Mouse ballpark. When he does it in big league ballpark. Like, oh, he hit it over the scoreboard. It was like, yeah, like a 290 porch. No fans there. The scoreboard was right where the fence was.
Yeah, Williamsport, Pennsylvania, where they hold the Little League World Series. Great bomb, Cole. You got the yard.
I mean,
He's swinging a hot bat. Like I'll give you that. I just don't think even he could be batting like 300. I still don't think you call him up from Double-A at this point in the season. It just makes no sense.
Is he on the 40-man roster? Because if he is,
No,
I don't think
I don't
so.
believe he is.
I don't think so. But
okay, all right.
that became a big when he put that ball over the scoreboard. I was very actually surprised to see how many people, like some people were like, he should be up now, he should be up opening day next year, and like the pushback and then like the just piss and vinegar that came from, I was just like, dude, just hit it over the scoreboard. It was pretty dope. He'll probably be up next year at some point. I'd like to see him get some more at bats in America before he comes up to the big leagues, but like I don't know.
But we've always said, where do you face the toughest pitcher?
In Double-A, and
Double-A.
I
He's
said
been
that.
fucking killing it.
But I mean, like,
And he is 24.
he is 24, and I mean the clock is running out. But I guess that does come full circle, though. And what we were saying about Robert, I mean, I know they got other guys in the outfield that they can bring up, but it's just shit, man. It's getting.
By the way, what's going to be the move when TA comes back? Like who's Romy?
Yeah, who gets the?
I'm sure there's a bullpen guy I can't think of that'll get sacrificed.
Oh, that's probably true.
Yeah.
Who's the red shirt on Star Trek that's about to die?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Romy has done nothing to
Insert
warrant him
Tanner
going
Banks
down.
here.
Yeah, like Tanner Banks.
Yeah, I was just saying.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those. But I mean, I feel like I don't want to beat a dead horse but I mean, it just basically it comes down to the White Sox need to win.
I would argue tomorrow is as much of like that's going to decide the season. They lose that game.
Ooh.
They lose that game and they go down 4 to the Guardians with only 3 games remaining against them, especially the way the Guardians are playing. Like, I don't think they could come back from that. I think today they had a shot. I don't know. I mean,
I would.
Today's loss is going to be tough.
So is it a must win or a can't lose?
Both.
Can't lose.
Both.
I would agree, Mitch. I will say that I have the feeling right now, like I did when they were in the playoffs, like the night before, like
Yeah.
they have to win tomorrow. Like a couple reasons, like you said, if they lose, Cleveland is now on a 7-game win streak with a pretty cake fucking schedule, and you lose a full game, and it's just you go 5 back. It's demoralizing in a couple different ways. I mean, it's not over obviously, but I think it's a huge fucking step back.
It's now out of their control. Like they have to rely on a lot of outside factors, and I don't believe they have the tiebreaker with them. Or tomorrow might decide.
Well, that's the thing too. Is
Yeah.
tomorrow decides the tiebreaker as well. Yeah, that's bad news, Bears. I mean, they just need to win.
I mean, we're also talking about like it would be great momentum too, because then after that, it's the Tigers, right? Who the Sox have killed this year. So like you win Cleveland, and then you're like, all right, you're thinking sweep, and then you're right back in it.
It's
So
crazy how quickly it swung because I saw the Angels were up 3-2 on the Guardians. It's like, well, okay, we win this game. We can go into Cleveland tomorrow. By the end of Thursday, we'll be a game and a half down with the
I'm with
Tigers
you.
coming up, and we still got 3 more against the Guardians. Now all of a sudden, you lose that game. Angels come or blow it, and it's like, well, crap. Like we lose tomorrow, it's over.
Did you guys see who blew it, by the way?
Yeah,
gave
our old
the-
friend Ryan Tapera.
Sox legend,
That
Ryan
bastard.
and Cubs legend.
Yep, Chicago legend,
Chicago
Ryan
legend.
Tapera. But yeah, I mean, the only other White Sox news though is this article that came out. Ken Rosenthal wrote it for The Athletic. It was a open letter behind a paywall, which we were able to figure out. But
Aldo's a wizard, is what it is.
wait a
It
fucking-
worked. Oh, it didn't work for me. I mean, I just kind of got the gist of it. I wasn't able to get the whole thing. But yeah, the paywall came up.
First thing he said was porn, and I was like, "Whoops!" But then I was, "Oh, that's the
So,
Ken Rosenthal." Not
going
Does it
into
open
this,
something
though,
else?
it was Ken
I was saying
Rosenthal. It's Raw Dog is called it. Totally different.
I was saying it before we came on though. I'm pretty sure, and in the comments, please correct me if I'm wrong, which I know you guys all will, but pretty sure Ken Rosenthal has a history of not liking Jerry Reinsdorf.
Yep, he's with Patton in that
Yeah, he
I
doesn't
think
like
anyone likes Jerry Reinsdorf.
I know, but like Ken is like,
media, except
yeah,
for
not media, and like Ken has been pretty vocal about it. So you kind of got a vibe when you're reading this that
Shitty.
this was him being like, Jerry, you fucked up, and LaRussa was just kind of taking the side shots for it. Now, I also think that Ken had a choice when he wrote it, and I guarantee, I almost am like 100% positive. Ken has a draft somewhere where he just goes nuclear on the whole thing, but he didn't print that one. He went with the more
He's classy. Where's
like,
I mean,
yeah,
Can I read this? Can I read this in the tone that I hear this?
yeah.
Just the lead. Tony,
Don't do
First
a voice.
Tony, first off, I hope you're feeling well. You haven't managed since August 28th, missing time because you required a procedure to repair the circuitry of your pacemaker. You're watching games from a suite at Guaranteed Rate Field, and White Sox general manager Rick Hahn told reporters Tuesday the team will follow the advice of medical experts as to if and when you will manage again. Returning would mean resuming a stressful job at the most stressful time of season with a heart problem as you turn 78 on October 4th. But even if doctors cleared you to work again, this no longer is simply a medical question. Not if you're thinking of the best interest of the team. Like, that's how it comes off as like, and then of course, because he wears that bow tie, I think at the end of
Yeah,
every
that's
paragraph.
why I said don't do
I
a
was
voice,
enjoying
'cause I
story
knew you
time
were
with
go- I
Sid.
knew
He
you-
kept going.
I knew you were going to go there with it. I knew the Pee Wee voice was coming. But, I mean, it was very well written, like most of Ken's stuff is.
What Jack says it right. It's snarky and well penned. A good writer can really, really kick you in the nutsack with words.
And
Words
you-
hurt.
I don't think he's wrong in what he's saying. Like, Tony does need to make a serious internal decision. Like, is this worth potentially dying over? I mean, I don't think that's like so far fetched to say, because he is almost 80 with a pacemaker, trying to manage a team in a major market in a pennant race. Like, it's pretty fucking stressful.
I don't want to speak for Tony, but I think if you asked him, he would say absolutely.
I know
He
he
is a gamer.
he would be like, he's like a dude in Game of Thrones. Like, I was born to die on the battlefield. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
He's going to
but-
end up getting poisoned and his throat cut by Arya Stark is what's going to happen.
something. But I've said it, and I don't want to rehash all the conversations we've had. You guys could go back and listen to old episodes where we talk about this, but I don't think Tony should come back. And some of it's baseball related, some of it's just human being related. I mean, sometimes you have to protect people from themselves. I don't think it's a slam dunk that Miguel Cairo is the manager of this team next year either. I've seen that some places, which to me is wild. This team won 92 games last year and then got absolutely fucking donkey punched by the Houston Astros in the playoffs. They had a whole offseason to fix glaring needs that were not fixed. They had a trade deadline to fix glaring needs. They signed my cousin. That was it. And then, so for anyone to sit here and point and say this has all been Tony's fault, you're wrong. And then on the flip side, though, for all the Tony stands out there, look, I get he's a Hall of Fame manager. I get people grew up watching him. I get he's some people's hero. I get all that. But you sound kind of dumb when you sit there and you're like, Tony has not, you can't blame Tony for any of this. Like, there's a middle here, and the middle is okay. Because in my opinion, the middle is correct. Like, it sounds like somebody fucking straight up snitched on Tony to Ken.
Oh, it's absolutely a snitch.
Yeah, and
probably Minnicino, by the way. I'm 80%. It's Minnicino,
and
20% that it's still Dallas Keuchel texting him saying, "Hey, when I was there."
But it could be actually. It's probably not a terrible call there, but he did bring up a point in the article that I've said a bunch of times on this show. They built a power hitting team, and all of a sudden they all looked like they were trying to hit for contact. And I highly doubt, Fids, and I know what you're going to say, so I'm just going to beat you to it. I highly doubt Tony's sitting there telling these guys, don't hit home runs.
This is the manager of literally the best power hitting teams in baseball history. Hell no. That's called Rosenthal doesn't know shit about what's going on with the White Sox. That's the incorrect thing. We know what Minnicino's philosophy is. He's taking it back from when he was with the Marlins. The slap fucking shit is his. And Rosenthal tries to pass it off, saying, literally goes with his thing. He says, what does he say? He says, I gotta read. I want to read this properly. Where is it?
Tony LaRussa just doesn't have enough steroids to pass around like he used to with Oakland and St. Louis. That's why.
Oh, here. Where's the
That's why Jose Abreu only has like 14 home runs. Andrew Vaughn has like 12.
Well, he tries to throw out that the White Sox that he's forcing Minnicino to do this Punch and Judy hit shit. And that's like an incorrect. That's just an incorrect.
That's probably I mean, that's not true, but there has been a lot of stuff that's come out about. I think they're talking about it this morning on ESPN on 1000. But like a lot of stuff where Tony, because he's been doing the job so long, will not talk to his assistants very much. He does like to override like a lot of guys because it's like, hey, I know what I'm doing. Like, so, I mean,
yeah,
it wouldn't surprise me if he's overriding his guys.
Here's my whole.
Oh wait, it's not even in here anymore. I'm not even seeing it. Why can I not find it now?
Here's my whole conclusion on this, though. This bad soap opera that this team has gotten swooped in helps no one. It helps no one. And this team is still within distance of winning their fucking division. And every pod, every blog, every national writer that writes about the White Sox, they're writing about this shit. They're talking about this shit.
Here it is.
I mean, this. Go ahead, Kevin.
It just says your relationship with coaches is another issue. Most staffs today are highly collaborative. Your style is far more autonomous. Some coaches were okay with that. I'm told. That's a good one. Others were not. Your emphasis on hits and contact ran counter to the hitting coach's goals for achieving power through patience. I need to know, honestly, have you ever heard the word power through patience come through the mouth of Minnicino or anybody in the White Sox organization, coach-wise, in the last 2 years? Have you heard power through patience as a buzzword? Because that's a buzzword that a coach uses when he's handing a baseball and putting it on a tee and working with a hitter. And that's something that these guys would be spouting and repeating over and over again because that is a mantra. That's not just a philosophy. And to say that tells me this is bullshit. A lot of the stuff is bullshit from Rosenthal because you'd have heard power through patience. No chance.
To be fair, do we hear a lot from Menachino? The only thing you really heard from him was that quote that was taken out of context. It was in regards to Nick Madrigal not hitting home runs, or it was like fuck the home runs. So then everyone says that. And I'm not saying he's not to blame. I mean, the numbers speak for itself in the Marlins stuff, but we never hear from Menachino.
He's been on Cap Show a bunch of times. He's been on like 4 or 5 times, and this is the same thing. We know Bears coach Matt Eberflus, right? We know his mantra immediately. It's the hit system. It's shit that he says over and over and over and over and over again. Patience or power through patience is something that a coach says over and over again. And we ain't heard shit. Like, I'm just telling you right now, there's no chance that is an actual true statement. We know that that's not the case because Tony LaRussa has never been that kind of coach. And we've never heard power through patience. It's a good approach. Don't get me wrong. But That hasn't been something the White Sox have been preaching this year or for 2 years under Menachino. I've not heard that phrase. I'm just telling you, these guys use these things over and over again, these mantras, and it's beaten to death almost to a point where guys laugh at it. It's like my snowball.
I do want to point out though, real quick, you said that what Rosenthal is saying is bullshit. He's not saying bullshit. Ken Rosenthal he's going off of what people are telling him may be bullshit. But
Right.
I just don't want you to
No.
insinuate that Ken is
shit. I'm not a big fan of Ken Rosenthal in the first place. I think he's full of shit. But I don't think that. And like I said in our DMs, I think that there's a lot of credible stuff that he says in here. I do think that one has to consider the team playing well when you're out and knowing, hey, sometimes it's better just to linger to the back and let this shit play out. And it's better to wonder what might have been had I not shown up than to wonder what might have been had I, had I shown up, than had I not shown up. And so I think that he does make really good points there. I just think that again, how he feels about Tony LaRussa, and then you hear him being overly disingenuous with shit. You're a fighter. You always have been. Like, shut the fuck up, Pee-wee. That's not how this goes, Pipsqueak. And we know how the truth is. And, that's just, it's someone that sees an opening. It's someone that sees this as clickbait. It sees that he's got like kind of a great opportunity right now. And he's not wrong saying that Tony shouldn't come back. I'm not disagreeing with that, actually. That's probably the thesis of his entire thing isn't untrue. But you don't have to fudge some of the evidence to get your point across, because it's actually a pretty easy slam dunk case, to be honest. And he's making up shit or he's using leaks. And I said it on a tweet today too, or maybe I said it in our DMs. A leak is the single most proof indicator of a sinking ship. And when people are starting to go to these types of people, now it's a national writer. So who has national writers in their pocket? Which guys are talking to those guys? And there's not many in the Sox clubhouse that are like national guys that have like relationships. They're too young. So I don't know. It's weird to me, but he's not wrong with his thesis.
Ownership, front office.
It could be. It could be. It could be Han.
There's
Shit.
literally a guy.
I can't get through to these people. He calls up Ken.
Yeah.
It's like nobody believes Bob Nightingale anymore. Damn it. Ken, write me this up.
Yeah.
Next, we're going to have to go to Heyman. Shit.
Tony LaRussa, he was the manager on a very good team last year. Like Zoe said, got their ass kicked by Houston, got exposed. Every single managerial decision that you could pinpoint in the playoffs, you could say the White Sox did bad. Come back 2022, a lot of expectations. One of the World Series favorites, massively overachieving team. To this point, I still don't know. I'm not in the clubhouse. I don't talk to any of the players. I have no idea. I don't know what Tony LaRussa does to make the White Sox better, or what he's done to make them better. Besides that point, this shouldn't even be weird anymore, because it seems like everything associated with the White Sox is weird. Mm-hmm. But I do find it kind of odd that he's kind of just like around the team now, but he's not going to manage. Like what? So what's the point of him just being? Because isn't he like back in Chicago?
Yeah. So
he's just kind of like looming over them, be like, "Hey guys."
He needs to go away.
Ooh, he's just like a ghoul.
He needs to go home. They need to make a decision on this. Either he's coming back or he's not. Make that decision now.
And that's the thing. Because they haven't, it's going to keep being written about.
Yep.
Because it's like, oh, well, Tony LaRussa is like, he's with the team. He's traveling with the team, but he's not going to manage. It's like, well, then what? Is he talking to Kyra before games? Is he not? Is he having any input at all? Is no one listening to him anymore? What the hell is the point of any of this?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I don't think, even if they win this division, this season is a disappointment.
End game. Yeah. It's not a disappointment. If they don't win, if they win the division and they win the World Series, how can this be a disappointment? It's just a shitty journey.
I mean, okay, if they win the World Series, it's not a disappointment. But if they win this division and then they get fucking smoked in the first round of playoffs, which is probably what's going to happen, this season is a disappointment.
Goonies never say die.
Yeah.
First round, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dylan Cease isn't going to be able to pitch in Toronto.
I think he got that.
They got it square. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say, imagine if that's the first round matchup.
But that would actually play into this season so perfectly.
That would be very fitting.
They got Dylan Cease out. Can't pitch until game 3.
Yep. And I agree with the big homie Svo in the comments here. Why isn't it showing up? There it is. It's so lame to pinpoint this on one person. This was a failure on so many levels. Han, LaRussa, the players, lackadaisical effort, just a massively underachieving season. Yes.
Oh, by the way, the big takeaway from all the underachievement, it's like number one, it's the players. Because again, we're talking about the same group for the most part that won more than 90 games last year, and then this year they just like played like shit for most of the year.
Accidentally fart more often without knowing it. Basically, he might shit his pants a little bit more during the regular season than he did last year. There's really, I just don't. There's we talked about it too. Although we talked about it on here, I think that the episode where Zoe wasn't here even. Where you got to kind of pinpoint what's the difference between this locker room and last year's locker room. What are the new additions and takeaways? Because last year's locker room had a blast. It was a fucking amazing. They had the chains and
missing Dallas Kicks.
It's shit. We made a big mistake.
He's the guy he was the guy that everybody hated. So everybody can just like.
I think to answer that question
wrong.
To answer that question, I think the biggest thing was last year they never won a division before. They're trying their whole change the game thing. We have something to prove. And then this year it's, hey, everyone's picking us to be the favorite. This division sucks. We can just come in here and show up with all this talent and win games. And then all of a sudden, it's like, well, we'll turn it around. Well, we'll turn it around. Oh shit! Like now we got to start.
That was that. We should clip that moment, Mitch, because that was a rare where you got everyone nodding their head yes.
I mean, I have Parkinson's, but.
I mean, we saw with like individual players and like as a team too with the Cubs after they won the World Series. Mm-hmm. They won the World Series, and we saw that in 2017 where they kind of just like sleptwalked until July.
Yep.
But again, and I think we brought it up like last week because I think it was Liam Hendricks who kind of brought that up. It's like, yeah, we were kind of just overly confident, and really we didn't earn that. Like, yeah, we won a division, but we didn't win shit after.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, like it does seem like they just had that attitude, and then
they were playing like they were like going for a three-peat. Like,
yeah.
You ain't won shit.
Hangover after a division title.
Think about this too. Think about this. They came in with the expectations. Last year, the expectations were, hey, look at this. Hey, look, the White Sox are starting to enter this window. It's pretty exciting, right? Then you get to this year where, again, they had some of the best odds to win the World Series. You've got a whole offseason of people being told at home. Remember, these guys they go home. They go to wherever they live, wherever four corners of the universe these guys live. And then they go home and they bask in the glory of their, or failures, I guess, too, sometimes in their season. And people get in their ear and they have their own entourages. They have their own groups of people around them that are telling them how good they are and great they are. And then you see how the season kind of came in. You see the stuff, like right out of the gate, Tim Anderson has a big giant storm cloud following him where he goes because of off the field shit with whatever accusations. And, you've got these guys that come in and have been told that they're going to be, might as well not even play the game. If you're in the Central, the other teams might as well not even play. And I'm totally guilty of it, man. I insulted that whole division. But these guys come in and they come in. Major League wasn't using a cliche in Major League 2 when it was like the soft team that was like too used to like being told how good they are. But in the movies, it's a fairy tale. They find, you throw on a leather vest without sleeves and you get your hair cut again and throw on some glasses and all of a sudden you're throwing 101 again. That's not how real life works. And so these guys might have come into the season already with that whole offseason of being told how great they are. And they believed it a little bit. And, and that's a recipe for disaster. The Cubs were lucky enough to win a World Series before it got to that point. Then it got to that point. And that was the only blessing in disguise about how fast it happened is it was a letdown from the World Series as opposed to watching a team not come in there and being satisfied with just being talked about instead of being satisfied with dogpiling at the end of the season. And that's the rough part with this team. I think that it's followed them into the season.
So they're in must-win fucking mode. And I can't stress this enough. You see all these people, it's Tony's fault. It's not Tony's fault.
Collective.
It's not one person that you should be having this conversation about. Again, after getting absolutely fucking mushroom stamped in the playoffs last year by Houston, they went out and signed AJ Pollock and gave the biggest contract this offseason to fucking Larry Garcia.
Oh,
and then
Larry Garcia, but did you see that stat? So I think
it's absolutely
you definitely saw it.
Yes.
No, they didn't sign Pollock. Did they?
No, they traded for him.
They picked up the option on Kimbrel, then traded him to the Dodgers.
The biggest contract they gave in the offseason was to Larry fucking Garcia.
Oh.
And Mr. Han, I don't know if you're watching this or not, but I'm sure you're going to love this next sentence. Rick Hahn needs to be held accountable for a lot of this shit. and
And
the
if you're
White Sox
not,
front office. And
I'll fight you.
so they had the whole offseason to address it. The biggest contract they gave was to fucking Lurie Garcia. And then they come up to the trade deadline where the needs were even more glaring. And now you know the season's gone sideways and you need to make these moves to make fixes. And they sign a journeyman lefty from Boston who's incredibly handsome. And that's it. That's it.
I'll give him that.
That's it. He's been fine. He's been who you thought you would get. That's not enough. I mean, it's just, I don't know. And I don't want to just keep getting into this loop where we go on.
It's a loop.
We show up to record on Wednesday night, and the first 40 minutes is us defending or going against Tony LaRussa. That shit's getting old fast, and it is what it is. So I'm just kind of fucking.
Let's do a Brady Bunch poll real quick. Do you think, as things have unfolded as they're right now, let's go across, start with Zoe, Aldo, Mitch, and then I'll finish. You don't even have to say, you can say yes or no. Should Tony LaRussa, based on all this stuff, even, not being a dick, but should he just linger to the back and step back and let this just play itself out? Do you feel yes or no? Should he come back and jump back in the dugout, or should he linger to the back and just kind of be a spectator at this point and just give advice? So yes or no, like back or not?
Go ahead, Aldo. You start.
It's back away. Just
Mitch.
stay out of the way.
Totally. You should back away. I mean, it's a distraction.
Yeah. Go home, Tony. Go home, Tony.
I don't say go home, but I say stay to the back. If they need your help, they'll ask.
Go home. He can't have you lingering in the press box.
Yeah, because that's all they're going to write about was Tony was there that day.
Especially when you have that report that says he doesn't collaborate well with the other coaches. And now you have, Tony's gone, but he's like watching over us from the press box. Like I would be uncomfortable too, not knowing when I'm getting how long I have my interim position.
Why would he have some guys like Dave Duncan that would stay 25 years with him if he doesn't collaborate well with his coaches? First off,
he's getting him a job because he's his buddy.
But now I see some. He came back as a Hall of Fame manager, and I think some of it is like he thinks after all this time off, he just knows better than everyone, and the game's passed him by. And like he has an ego, like there's no denying it. You listen to his press conferences, we do live in a new technological age post COVID, so I guess he could be ready to hop on a Zoom if ever needed. And just
but he can't be in the building, dude. As soon as
when
someone sees him,
I say linger to the back, I don't mean like him like, hey, I'm in the clubhouse. When you guys are done, come on back in. I'll be in a towel. I'm talking about like, hey, I'm here. You need your help. You need some help. Cool. If not, I'm happy to stay back here and in the shadows. And if you need me, this is where I'm at. Call me.
Here's my Zoom number, Miguel. If you need any guidance, call me. That's how it should be.
I'm not saying he should be in like some weird like vampire casket and like, all right, we need his help. Somebody unlock the casket.
I mean, that's the thing. At this point, I mean, that's pretty much the role that he's going to be in for next year. Or
he should be watching waterfalls in Arizona for his cards. And then if Miguel Cairo needs some guidance, then he will call him up. That is how it should go the rest of the year.
I feel
rather you guys going to the offseason as Sox fans going, well, we stuck with Miguel Cairo. It didn't work out. Oh, well, not shit. We didn't make the playoffs, and it's because we brought Tony LaRussa back.
Like, that's the thing, because like Tony LaRussa isn't coming back anyway.
I'm at a 4 now, by the way. I'm at a 4.
I froze, but what I was saying was I'm pretty sure Cairo talked to Tony in some way about shaking up the rotation.
He's a mentor figure. Like, he's there, but you don't look. I can be a coach and run a system of someone that I respect with a great deal of my heart, but I can also do shit my way while implementing your way and using your advice, but also not doing it the way that wasn't really kind of working. And I think that's what Cairo's doing, is that it bothers me a little bit to find, way more emotional and demonstrative. And he's having, where the hell was this for the last year and 8 months when your job initially, when you got the job, and we've talked about it on this show, even when you got hired, is your job is to be that energy gap between the head, the manager and the rest of the clubhouse. Where was all of this before? I refuse to believe that Tony LaRussa was like, hey, calm it down, Miguel. God.
I mean, I don't know. It's surprising.
How do you know, Kevin? Maybe
how do you know that? Like, that's literally kind of what Ken Roosevelt said. He doesn't collaborate. He's kind of like taking the reins. If I'm Miguel Cairo, you have this guy coming in. I'm not going to be all rah if Tony doesn't want me to.
Well, this is the problem, because guess what? The people that have worked with him end up working with him for decades. So there is collaboration, but maybe you're not good at your job either, or you're not doing your job, and he's pissed off because, like, dude, you were supposed to be doing your damn job. You were supposed to be the one that flipped the burgers. I'm doing the fries. You were doing the burger. You fucking worked on the fries. Like,
here's the thing, though, man.
It could be both. I don't know.
People changed, and when Tony was doing that managing that you're speaking of years ago, where people stay with him for years, he wasn't 78 years old. You know what I mean? Like, he's not the same guy.
He's not more open-minded than he was 12 years
ago.
That's true, though. I agree with you. And
you know what I mean? Like, people get crotchety. I'm salty as fuck these days. I wasn't this way just 10 years ago. Like, it's just people get old and they become bigger dickheads. It's just how shit goes.
He tried to get out of a DUI by saying, "I'm a Hall of Fame baseball person, brother."
Well, I'm not an ego guy.
You're pulled over. You're going to say whatever the fuck. You're like, I am the Queen of England, motherfucker. Like, it doesn't matter. But he was drunk at that point. But I don't. His ego is there. We know his ego's there. To me, I'm like, where is this from Miguel Cairo? Because we talked about it when he was hired on this show, that his job was to be the energy boost between the manager who's old and the clubhouse that's young. We talked about that.
I think he just didn't probably. I'm guessing probably just didn't want to step on any toes. That's like, I'm just going to sit here, do my job. Like, I don't want to piss off Tony. You know, he respects Tony. Tony knows a lot. He's like, I don't want to step on any toes. I don't want to get out of line. I'm sit here in the corner and do my job. I think that's exactly what it is.
Here, I'll get personal real quick. Okay. As a guy that's been a head coach that ran a program, when I got fired and my head assistant, who it turned out was being a scab and was actually stabbing me behind the back, when he took over, he thought, I'm going to
Miguel Cairo?
No, not Miguel. But close, Mengel. And so when he did, wow, that was actually pretty good if you knew the story. But anyway, the point is, like, I'll do it my way. And it worked for like 3 days because the guys were like, oh shit, we got to, rally together, and not all the guys were, I wasn't like hated in the clubhouse. It had everything to do with parents that were mad because the kids that were on the bench were playing. And this whole shit happens and he takes over. And you have these guys that all of a sudden now, Or guys that in the summer, like they get to be the head coach during the summer. All of a sudden they change their personality and they're not doing the same things that they should do in the clubhouse and the dugout when they were in the regular season, when they weren't the big dog. You got to do you. And if it doesn't fit, if Miguel Cairo couldn't be himself after year one, what the hell are you doing sticking around, dumbass? That shows you are a bitch. And so I worry about scab stuff, which is he should have been doing this the entire time. And now that Tony's gone, all of a sudden, he's puffing his chest out. Like, that to me tells me that he's not really a strong individual. And I don't think
he's just a good employee because Tony probably didn't want him to.
In baseball, if he's an emotional coach, it's not about employees. The guy's got enough money. He's fine. He doesn't need a job.
I don't know why you're so anti-emotional coach when it's clear like all these other players are saying like, yeah, we've heard it from a different guy and it's clicking for us. And he showed like, I think Tony was just a skeleton in the dugout with a big ego and he controls his coaching staff by all these reports. And he didn't want to step on any toes. I don't think he's being a bitch by sitting there and not like yelling, do even rah-rah speeches when Tony's there because Tony probably didn't want him to.
But all of a sudden he's doing it. But here, I'll tell you this too. And
he's in charge now, so he can do it. That's part of his job.
You should know this, Mitch, by the way. If you wonder who on the coach and the coaching staff that I'm on is the emotional coach, I mean, Jesus, it's me, like, obviously. So I understand, and I know it doesn't work. And sometimes the yelling and the screaming, sometimes it works. Like, but it can't be the whole mantra, man. It can't be the whole thing.
I think so.
An emotional boost on a day when everyone's dragging ass, a great emotional boost, and some dude running around rah rah rah. That's what you got to do. That makes sense. But dude, you can't do that over the course of a season. That shit doesn't wear. You're gonna die as a coach. But again, Cairo could have been himself. If he wasn't allowed to be himself, why do you stay in a job that doesn't allow you to be yourself? First off, that's for anybody in any career, in any job. I understand that.
I have an answer for that, but go ahead.
I know, and it's but he doesn't have fear of the finances. He's fine. He's taken care of. He's getting the MLB PAA. He's got a retirement. He's got a pension. So it's not like he's broke. The fact is, though, if you see a V line to another leapfrog, success under LaRussa is a great thing. So I can understand shutting up as well. But at the same time, look, if I'm in a program and I've left programs, obviously for that reason, if I wasn't able to be myself, fuck you, I'm done. It's play ball, not work ball. I'm not going to stick around and do this. And if Cairo couldn't be himself and was handcuffed this entire time for almost 2 years, I don't really feel any sympathy for him. And it tells me that he was just waiting for his moment when someone else could turn their back and he's got a shiv and he's going to give someone the shiv in the back. That feels, and I don't think that's the case. That's why I think, no, my point is, I don't think giving credit to Miguel Cairo for the emotional boost is disingenuous into itself, because he's probably been doing the same job the entire time, but we're now hyper-focused on it because we're not hyper-focused on what Tony LaRussa is doing in that corner of the dugout where he's probably spinning a spider web and hanging out in the web.
I think part of the reason that you've seen a difference is because he has a different job. Now he's in charge of all of them instead of being the second fiddle. It's a different job. So, of course, he's going to treat it a little differently. And that's what they needed. They needed a kick in the pants.
So,
but he's putting a kick in the pants the whole fucking time.
Okay.
Where's your foot?
What's up, Aldo? How you doing, bud?
Hey,
I
dude.
love this back. Remember when it used to be me and Kevin?
Yep.
This is fun. Now I know how you felt, so
Yep.
you and Nuke.
You just kind of sit
back.
there like, yeah. I think Cairo, I think you both made points that play, but I also think that Miguel Cairo probably fell in line because he took a job to be the bench coach for a 78-year-old man, and they told him, if you just shut the fuck up and do what Tony says, when he's gone, you got the gig.
Okay, so that makes sense, but that also is kind of shitty too. But what if his job was told, like we talked about on this show, your job is to be the bridge between the youth of our clubhouse and our older aged manager that has great baseball IQ, but is probably, it's going to take 10 years to get a message out of him. And we talked about that being his job. Hold on, Mitch. Hold on, Mitch, because I'm referencing something we talked about at length on this show for like a couple of weeks when Cairo was hired as the bench coach, is that he has a job to do to bridge this. And so the question is, why hasn't he done that? Or has he done that? And now all of a sudden he's just going from what we thought was 100% to the real 100%. To me, I don't get how, again, I've coached behind people that disappeared for a couple of days and I had a great deal of energy. It's fun because you get the keys to the car, man. You get to you get to drive. You haven't been driving all year and you get to drive. It's fucking awesome. But at the same time, I don't want to drive it's not my car. And I guess my question is, where has this been? I have to keep saying this over and over. Why is it all of a sudden showing again? I don't like the excuse. I'm sorry. I don't actually buy the excuse of, well, Tony LaRussa was in charge, so he just had to bide his time. Then you're a weak individual. Because
we don't know that he wasn't. The only reason it came to the surface is because of other players have said so. And it's not like he's going to be like, you're not going to see him give a speech from the dugout. And I don't think, but Tony's in charge, and some guy going to come out and be like, oh yeah, Miguel Cairo was the one that really changed the culture here. Well, Tony's still managing. Like, no one's going to come out and say that then either. So that's part of the reason.
Well, you can't tell me, and I can't tell you, and no one can tell you who's been writing these lineups, even with Tony away. You think Tony can't sit down at night and write a lineup with his pacemaker?
Look, there's probably collaboration with the lineup.
Miguel Cairo, but do you really know that Miguel Cairo has been writing these lineups? No. And that's the thing, is just, it's again, who's been doing the job this whole time? And I'm trying to make the point that I think that Cairo's been doing this job the entire time, all the time. And that now without LaRussa in the dugout, fans, media, cameras, everything's starting to focus on what Miguel Cairo does. But if you had isolated a camera on Miguel Cairo over the last 2 years in that dugout, I bet you he's probably, other than giving the last speech of the night, doing the same things that he's always done. I guess that's my point, is that we're over exaggerating what he's given or done, because if there's more to this and he hasn't done it, I personally think it's weak dick, because he's been leaving it on the table and not helping the collective. I don't think that's the case. And I think that it has something to do with something else. And I don't think that Cairo is that. And I'll double back to Elvis Andrews. I think it has to do with more of the additions in the clubhouse chemistry, who's not there and who is there. And this team is now thriving because there's a fuck the world, rally behind each other, whatever we can latch onto, let's latch onto. And this is what we're going to latch onto, is it's us against the world. And that's what they've been doing really well. And I just don't think that I think giving credit to Cairo for this is disingenuously just trying to, it's too simple. I guess that's the way. I wasn't trying to take it away from Cairo himself. I'm just saying he's been doing this the whole time. And here's the thing,
Here's the thing, Zoe. Kevin and Mitch are both wrong because the reason that anything's made a difference is because Eloy Jimenez has come back and is fucking torching the ball.
Well,
That's the
too.
difference.
And then
They
also
They actually
another
have someone in the
thing-
middle of the lineup who can hit.
Another thing that you said in that speech there was you don't know if Tony's not making this lineup. I can tell you he's not for a couple reasons. One, because how much Romy's been playing, because Tony doesn't play rookies. Two, how much Lurie hasn't been playing, because Lurie plays every day when Tony's in charge. And
I don't know. I
he
see the
does.
lineup's way different than I do a regular lineup.
Oh,
So.
but see, and Kevin, I I value your experience as a coach very much, and I respect it and I value it, but I don't think it's apples to apples here.
I could say this: had I not have been already writing the lineups when our head coach was gone on occasion, he would have written those lineups. Like he still writes. Like I don't know. And we don't even know who writes the lineups for the White Sox organization. By the way, we don't know if
And
that
I-
comes from
I'm
again.
pretty
'Cause-
sure it's Tony. I don't think it's coming from the front office.
Well, I know that we could say this about the Cubs, Aldo. The Cubs lineup is usually written by an analytic staff. Like it's not written by David Ross. Like it's written by a
I mean,
collective-
Tony's
think
using an
it's-
analytics staff to write the lineups.
I think it's very
board of
similar.
directors.
I think it's very similar for most MLB teams now. There's obviously conversations between whatever analytical department you have. You talk with the front office before a series, probably maybe before a week.
But
You look
guys,
at the
guys,
matchups, you look at the numbers.
guys, the White
and
Sox
then-
don't have an analytical staff.
That's
Well,
what,
that's what I'm saying. So it's Rick Hahn.
Okay, that's the point, right
It's
there.
Rick Hahn, and he's like, guys, Larry Garcia has a 500 OPS. Probably don't bet him leadoff. Guys, Larry
And then-
Garcia has a 500 OPS. Don't bet him third. in
I
your lineup.
also think that
Don't bat him 1
Just
through 9 in the line.
from what Miguel Cairo, the way he now that he's speaking to reporters and stuff because he is in charge now, the way he seems very much as a respect guy. And I feel like he's the type of guy, it's not weak dick. It's him having this great respect for this man that you obviously have a huge respect for. And
And yet I still hate
there's a lot of we don't know is being tossed out there because we don't know, but all we keep saying here is we're not in the dugout. And then you hear from people that the players respect them, and then they come out and talk to, and there's like these double entendres coming out. There's still just a whole big clusterfuck of confusion. But I also just think that Miguel Cairo is the type of guy that he knows his role and he shuts his mouth out of respect. And now that obstacle is out of the way, he is able to do more. And again, I don't think it's weak. I think it's him being respectful.
And that's
That
see,
was
but
put
this
a lot
really
more
is-
eloquently than I was trying to say. But that's exactly what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then can I digress then? Because then that's the clubhouse. It's the laws of the jungle in the clubhouse, by the way. So you have to understand that if someone isn't there to be the alpha, and all of a sudden they're the alpha when the other alpha's gone, you've always been the beta. I'll just say that. And that's the problem. If Castro was just putting up and shutting up because he wanted to get along to go along, I am not a huge fan personally of get along to go along. I'd rather say, fuck you, I'm done. I'm out. If I'm not me, I'm not me. Then what did you hire me for? My job is out. So Cairo, if he had to get along, go along, hey, to each their own. I think it's weak dick. You think it.
These jobs don't grow on trees, though. I mean, it's not like, I'm just going to leave the.
Cairo. It's Miguel Cairo. He's fine. I'm going to tell you right now, his reputation in the show is fine. And I can tell you this. And that's the thing is, I'm not saying that, again, the whole argument of this is I'm more upset that Cairo chooses now to all of a sudden have a pair of balls.
Because he's in charge. The job is completely changed. That's why he's Miguel Cairo.
Yeah.
I think the root of this problem. I think the root of your
He's doing his
problem,
job
argument.
description that he was given from day one. He's now finally doing
That's the thing, though, Kevin. Where that is your description of what his job. Where did we hear that from the White Sox? That he was supposed to be the gap between Tony LaRussa and the young players. That was what you thought Miguel Cairo was here to do, but we don't know that for sure. We don't know what Tony LaRussa brought in Miguel Cairo for to do.
I mean, for all
we
we
don't know
know,
what Tony LaRussa
they
told
brought him in and told him to shut the fuck up for 2 years and then learn
like-
under Tony. And then
Like Kevin, I get it, but like
Sorry,
we're going
then
off
again,
the
what
we're going off your
that
assumption.
kind of job, dude. Like you're shut
that's
up.
your
2
assumption
years.
of what you think he should be doing or should have been doing.
And you're wasting 2 years of your life to basically like eat shit. Nah, that's weak
Right,
dick.
because no other coach has ever done that in any profession.
Not when they didn't get to be themselves.
Are you serious, Kevin? No
Come
other coach has
on.
ever just shut their
Okay,
fucking
no,
mouth
but
and been
weak dick-
all right, come on, dude.
No, you're right. Weak dick coaches have done that.
Are
in
you
his-
serious? The week I was oh my god. There's no way, Kevin.
Okay.
There's no way. I bet you Tony LaRussa himself when he was fucking coming up fucking shut his ass up before he got to be the fucking cock of the walk.
I guess we can find out and ask somebody, I guess, because the only experience I know is the people that I know, and the people that I know said, if I can't be me, I'll just go to a different place and do the same thing until they accept me. That's called Ryan Christensen going to the Padres. It's called, I mean,
that's just
not-
anecdotal. That's just that's
yeah.
your own personal experience. Just because
what do you have? Well,
you believe something
I
or
know.
no other experiences doesn't mean that that's everyone or
Yeah.
that's how
Just-
everyone
Okay,
should
it's
be.
fine. So Aldo, you can take a job that says you do this job for 2 years and you basically don't get to be yourself. You don't get to coach the way that you coach. You don't get to do pretty much anything, and you don't and you shut your mouth, by the way. The minute you open your mouth, you're done. You're out. Bye. And you have 2 years where you have to basically be berated and told your opinion is shit. You're going to sit there and wear that for 2 years?
I don't think that's the case, though. I think it's like, hey, I got a chance to learn from one of the greatest minds in baseball history with Tony LaRussa on a team that's contending and be a coach. Yeah, I'm going to do whatever whatever he wants me to do. I'm sitting here.
You just described like 80% of the entire
You guys
US
are missing
workforce,
this. Is Miguel Cairo has been doing what he's doing currently all along, other than the public interviews. He has not been the focus of the dugout, so you don't know he hasn't been doing this the whole time. People are giving him credit for doing what he's been doing as his job the whole time.
Though, the players are giving him credit for it. It's not
No,
just like schmucks like me and you giving him credit. It's like Josh Harrison's coming out and saying it. Liam Hendrickson's coming out and saying it. It's players giving him credit.
But you okay? So you have two guys that have given him credit, and then you have Jose Abreu that have been giving Tony LaRussa credit, and you have the people
pretty
that
quiet recently. I mean, they all want him to come back, but you know,
again, look, I'll tell you this, and again, this is again, I feel like this is coming across like you think I'm trying to like shit on like Miguel Cairo. I'm telling you that you guys just missed it. He's been doing this the whole time.
I don't hear it
You
as
called
you.
a weak dick, a
weak
bitch.
dick, yeah,
And
No, I am saying that if he took this job and was told that he couldn't be himself,
right, and I get that. I don't take this as you.
He's been himself this whole time.
I'm
that
not
he's
hearing this as you
doing
like ripping on Cairo, but Kevin, I mean, you
But
kind
if
of
he
have
takes
an
the job
MO
to shut
across
up, then it's weak dick.
the
Yes.
last like 20 episodes. I mean, I get it, dude. Tony's your dude.
No, he's not my dude, though. God.
Oh, you're constantly defending him on the show. Kevin.
No, God.
Yes.
Kevin, too, bud.
You do have to understand that I hate
Oh,
Tony
come
LaRussa like I hate the Mets.
No, and I get that. I think, but
Okay.
I
So
don't know
you're
if you-
misunderstanding me. I'm talking about the dynamic of somebody that's in charge versus somebody that's not in charge. And you guys think that I'm a fan of Tony LaRussa. No, but he's been given that and he's earned that. And this is what happens when someone has that. But it doesn't matter these days because people that are usually like, I'm not an electrician. I've not gone to electrician school. But I would watch the YouTube video and think that I'm a fucking electrician. No. And the same thing, there's cognitive dissonance, Dunning-Kruger going on today where people think I watched enough baseball to think that I know more than the people that are actually doing what they do. And you have to understand when Tony LaRussa says, this is why the point is this with Cairo, is he's been doing this all along. He has been doing his job. And he was told when he came in, I'm sure of it, that this is your job to bridge this because he's old. You're not. That again, don't throw out the speak Spanish bullshit that Rosenthal tried to throw in there too. Bullshit, because we know that that's all
that
low
was
hanging
lame.
fruit.
Yeah,
But
I will agree
the
with
fact
that.
is that
was lame.
if Cairo took this job and was told, "Shut your mouth, bitch," for 2 years,
It
I
doesn't
think
have
that
to be in such extremes, though, man.
well,
It doesn't have to be in such extremes.
And
That's
just-
fine. I'm just.
It could have just
I
been
know,
like,
I
hey
know, it's
man,
not
I'm
the
running the
same.
show here. I don't want you making these speeches. Like that could have been it. Like by the way, Kevin, I agree with you. I think the credit for Miguel Cairo has been overblown. Because
What happens when the season ends and he's been the head coach and they're 6 games over 500 because they faded down the
I
stretch?
mean, that's
Is
the
that
thing.
Tony Russa's
I was
fault?
telling Zoe and Mitch, if they lose on Thursday against Cleveland, they're in the same exact position they were when Tony LaRussa went out. So it's not
He went
like-
out with a 5-game
and
losing streak too. Like a 5-game losing streak into his heart problem, whatever the hell it was. Again, I still think he should stay the fuck away. I want to know what happens with Miguel Cairo. I'm good with that. I'm not arguing this.
I think yeah, I'm not saying he should be the manager next year. I think, it's kind of one of those situations like the Raiders last year. You get your interim head coach, he gives you a kick in the pants, and then you find your long-term guy. It's the same thing here. No one in their right mind think he's the long-term solution. But I think it's pretty evident when he took the helm, whatever he said, it lit a fire under their ass, and it's got them to where they're in a position, and having Tony LaRussa back would just be a distraction and like muck things up at this point.
Do you know the record though from the day that? What is the record from the day that Cairo became the manager, and what is the record from the day that Elvis Andrews entered the locker room? I'd like to know that.
10-4.
Can somebody pull those up? Do we have any?
10-4 with.
That would be a great stat to know. I'd like to know that.
Cairo.
The thing that sucks though is that Tony would probably play Lurie at short. So
It's fact. That is a fact.
I mean, it is what it is. I think when it comes to this Tony and Cairo and actually this whole staff, the White Sox tried something. Jerry got his old buddy back in. They tried it and they failed.
Yep, that's true. And you know what? And Ken Rosenthal won because we're sitting here giving him free press.
It
And-
failed. He doesn't need it from our 6 viewers, but it's just, I mean, it is what it is. Meanwhile, the Cubs just completed.
This was a
sweep
good
over the
throwback,
Mets.
by the way.
Yeah, the Cubs just finished the sweep over the
Hey,
Mets.
though.
The other things, though, that I did want to mention were the Cubs were linked to Trey Turner and old friend Carlos Rodon.
Wait. We didn't do our optimism.
Oh yes, we have to do confidence level for White
Oh,
Sox winning
confidence
the
level.
division.
We can't miss that because it'll get
I think-
lost.
Where was I at 6 something last week?
I think you went back up to at 6. I think.
think
I went
was
back
6
up to 5. I'm going back down. I'm going back for the only reason, I think, for the first time this year, because I think Cleveland just might be okay to good. So this has nothing to do with the White Sox. I think it's just the deficit, and
Zoe
Cleveland just
talk-
keeps winning.
Zoe talked about this a couple of podcasts ago, but like Cleveland's no pushover. Like there's legit reason to be concerned about them. It's not like they're bad. It's just we should be better than them on paper. But it's not like they're a bunch of scrubs and like they got some talent there. This
So I'm
Bieber's
back down
a young
to,
candidate. Kwan's going to probably be rookie of the year. Ramirez is an MVP caliber player. They got a lights out closer. Like there's a lot of and an excellent manager. They got the best manager in that division right now.
God, how did he?
I'm back to a 3.75 out of 10.
What was that last time? Was it 6? Was I a 6 or a 7? I feel like I was.
I think you went back up to like a 7, Kevin, because
Yeah,
you were
well,
at a
I'm-
6 before.
I'm down to a fucking 1 with the leaks in the clubhouse. So
Oof.
Yeah, I don't think that
I'm taking
matters.
not
I got
I'm on the not happening scale.
I'm at like a 5-2, and there's no way Quan wins rookie of the year. But
I think that I'm actually
No,
at a
he's
0.
gonna
Oh,
be-
Julio Rodriguez.
there's
He's
no
gonna
way.
be up. He's gonna be in the running. He'll
Oh
finish
yeah,
top
he'll get
3.
votes. He'll get votes, but that's my boy Julio's to lose.
Julio's gonna win. Yeah, that is fair.
another home run and stolen base tonight. Guys,
Lost
Free
of
trade
game
for
1.
Julio's, though.
Loss of game 1 to the Guardians is a 0. By the way, it goes to a 0.
yeah, if they lose on Thursday, I'm at like a 1. But as of we record this on Wednesday night, I'm at like a 5.2.
Well, that's good.
Huge game, though. I mean, you basically, because I think you're right. So
Lance
Lance
comes out and fucking deals, and they win this game, and then the White Sox go on a fucking tear, and it could easily go the other way for Cleveland. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not that far fetched.
I'm
I
at a
thought-
5. We're
I thought
putting
they
my
picked-
faith in Lance and those big old pants of his, and
Yeah,
that's what we're going with.
yeah.
I
mean,
thought Cleveland peaked though. I feel like an idiot. I thought
they still could have though, man. I mean, it was a 6-game win streak with 20 games left. They could easily fire off an 8-game losing streak right now.
True. I really
Side
thought
note,
they were done
with
though.
Lance Lynn, it's kind of weird. Like today, gorgeous, like 75-degree day. Lance Lynn wears a hoodie up the entire time, long pants and hoodie. I would feel like he's sweating his balls off in that thing. Every time you see him in the dugout, just hoodie.
Those
Up.
dudes,
9
those dudes,
times.
I hate them because they
Mitch,
come home smelling like ball sweat.
Mitch.
Those dudes are fucking nuts.
Mitch, it's very, very easy. The man's got ice in his veins. All right,
there we
moving on. So to the Cubs again, like I said, the Cubs just swept
except for
the
against
Mets.
Houston.
Ooh, God, there it was.
That was a bad day.
Grenade.
Bad
You-
hot dog that day.
I love it.
Cubs swept Houston. I'm actually trying to talk about the fucking Cubs for once, and you two can't shut the fuck up.
Sorry
White
about that.
Sox are
Alright.
more interesting at
Yeah.
this
Let's talk
point.
about Carlos Rodon coming back to Chicago.
Carlos Rodon, and
How's
I
the leg
told
coming
you,
back?
Trey Turner.
Ball's
I
got-
told you it was going to be Trey Turner.
Oh yeah, I think we
Yeah,
Like, you thought it was
we're
gonna
on the
be
same page
Dansby.
there.
But you knew it was going to be Cap that was going to say it. So
there was a couple. I didn't even see Cap say. I saw it from other
that's
places.
Cap's the one that today's
Yeah,
breakout was Cap.
That's what. That's what. But that's the thing.
The
He didn't
last
have
thing
the
about
say.
Correa
He had the
last year.
say news last year.
Yeah. And Correa though too. Correa was and then
I
Correa
think
I don't think Correa's coming.
I
don't
could.
know.
to-
Yeah.
I
Oh,
could
no,
totally
last
see
year
the
he said
Cubs
was coming.
landing
Or-
Carlos Rodon. I could definitely
Trey-
see
Yeah,
Carlos Rodon.
That makes sense.
They were interested in the year the Sox picked him up on they picked him back up off the scrap
Right
heap.
at the very
They were one of
last
the teams
minute.
that tried him out. So
Yep.
there's definitely some interest there.
Yep.
And
Carlos
then,
Rodon.
dude, could you imagine if the Cubs added Otani, Carlos Rodon, and Trey Turner in the offseason?
Not
No.
a World Series.
I was like actually wanted
They
to.
might be able to contend with St. Louis.
But-
Well,
But apparently, you fucked it up when you booed fucking Ricketts and hurt his ego about his stupid TV channel.
Oh,
That's fine. He'll live with it.
you know, if they
He'll
sign
live
up,
with it.
the games are going to be like pay-per-view. Watch.
Yep.
Sure.
Oh,
I'm sure he can
Dude, Mitch, I could
wipe
see
away
that.
his tears with all the money he's making.
But could you? Oh yeah.
Have
I
you
mean,
guys?
The Cubs make those three moves this offseason. Every game
Otani's pitching tonight. 10
overflows, sold
Eastern.
out.
Pay-per-view.
Yep.
Okay. By the way, now we haven't had him on the show in a bit, but he came on the show before. Justin Roman, you guys remember, big Cub fan. Him and his fiance Kenzie, they're on the Marquee Sports Network now. They have their own show, by the way. It's called the MVP Game, which they're doing like they do like Cubs trivia with
Yeah.
couples.
It's like
Which
the
is-
wedding game with Cubs trivia.
Yeah, I mean, but good for
him.
Yeah, I was like, it's again that pin was an Ivy bump. All of a sudden, you come on our show, you get your own show.
So what when you hear trade? Well, out of those like the 4 free agent shortstops, like what do you guys think of Trey Turner?
I think you make a great third baseman,
I think he.
Second base.
third or second baseman. Yeah,
Well, that's the thing though with Trey Turner. Out of all those other shortstops that we mentioned in the free agent market, he's probably the most versatile.
Yeah, he
Where
can
you
play
can
center
move him
field.
to he can play in the outfield, he can play second base, he can play shortstop. I mean, shit, you can add Correa and Trey Turner. You know what I mean?
Go out,
Just- I'm just
pull the
saying.
Texas Rangers. Yeah, dude.
And
fuck it.
fucking, I mean, that's wild though to think that there's a possibility where they can add Carlos Rodon and Otani to that starting rotation.
Well, I wanted to ask you this too because I mean, I'm obviously talking
That's
about the
like
White Sox.
video
We
game
talked about
shit.
it all winter long when there wasn't a lockout. But so, has your opinion changed on Rodon long term, health wise?
He's he put together a solid season. Now, I know this is coming up a lot right now in the Judge versus Otani MVP race, but I know it doesn't change like the strain he's putting on his arm, but it's something about him pitching meaningless games the last like month or so. You know, I don't know. I guess that's really not relevant here. I mean, his arm still throws as hard as his arm throws. It's just, but
I'd be more if it was like a younger guy, like guys who aren't used to the workload.
yeah, I mean, he put together a good season. Did they catch lightning in a bottle with this one season? Like, is his arm going to fall off the first month of the year next year? He's always going to have that like
that
Charlie Brown
lingering
cloud
yeah.
over his head, like when you talk about Carlos Rodon. Like,
It's been 2 years in a row though. I
And
know
he-
that he ran out of gas in October in
Yes.
2021.
It was before October.
it was before.
Near the end of the year, he missed a lot
In
of starts.
September.
Yeah,
Because he could have been, in theory, a Cy Young candidate, but he didn't even have enough innings to
That's
qualify
right.
for the
Yeah.
ERA thing. Because he was either 5 innings, crap, here's 2 weeks off, another 5 innings, 2 weeks off.
All right,
yeah,
see,
he was every other start for like
That's
the last
true.
2 months of the season. Like,
because I'm obviously excited when again the Cubs. There's an easy path for the Cubs to be competitive as soon as next year. They just
Oh,
have to
yeah.
spend fucking money.
which
I love to see them
a
being
big
linked
if.
to all these names.
it's great.
But I do have to say the Carlos Rodon one, as much as that the dude's like the ultimate competitor, fucking bulldog on the mountain. You love to have him.
Yep.
You love to cheer for that guy when he's on your team because
Yep.
you like really get that sense that he like fucking cares as much as you do.
can concur.
However, that the whole
However,
cloudy, lingering
never touched
questions
anything
about
after the butt.
can he stay healthy does sneak back into that
Bro,
conversation.
it gets-
Is this
it's-
the guy you're gonna pay $100 million to?
And Ryan in the
Yeah, I
chat
was about to
makes
say,
a really good.
very good
The length of the contract. The length of the contract, Aldo, is what you just made
This is a really good point
the
though
length
by
that he wants.
our friend Ryan in the chat. I put a lot of faith in the San Francisco training staff and their ability to keep all those old guys going so long. Which, yes, it could have actually been a huge boost for Carlos to just get the fuck away from the White Sox training.
Yeah,
staff.
we know. Yeah, we know what's going on.
They're,
there.
they're fucking cheeks. I've never seen so many soft tissue injuries in my entire life.
KB used
And-
that San Francisco training routine this offseason. It didn't really work really well.
Stretching burns too much energy. Just get out there and hope for the best.
Well, did they stretch before they stormed the
Roll the
base?
ball out
No,
and play, bitches.
but that's, I mean, who
Beer
knows?
League
He
softball
could
right
have-
there. Let's go.
The effects of what San Francisco's training staff has done for Rodon could definitely be to the Cubs' benefit if they're able to get him on a pretty solid deal. I'm
'Cause
just
what's he
saying,
gonna
like,
be like?
For sure.
if it's available for the Cubs, they need to
It's a
move.
good arm.
Yeah.
It's a good arm.
Even though every time he goes to the mound, you're going to be in the back of your mind going, "Is this the start his arm falls off?"
Every
But
time he twitches, every
Yes.
time he
So he's gonna
winks,
be-
every
But that's-
time his eyebrow does like a little weird. Oh shit! Was that his cuff?
But that's where we're at with Luis Robert right now. Like Luis
True.
Robert, like
Eloy,
wipes his nose. I'm just like, oh Jesus. No, I feel better with
Magical.
Eloy.
Magical, same way.
But Magical, you only got to worry about getting hurt if he goes on like a 10-game hot streak, because then he's
Yeah.
definitely gonna get hurt.
He's like George Costanza. He wants to
Yes.
exit on a high note. All right, you guys are happy with me. I'm going to take a couple weeks off.
All right,
Attaboy.
so we're coming up to the hour and a half mark.
It's time.
So it is time, but part of this though, we need, before you get into NASCAR Minute,
Yeah.
this is like a bonus session.
Bonus.
You got it.
Explain.
Casino.
All right.
Hold on,
Um,
hold on. Who is this? And hold on, we gotta have music for this. We gotta have
This
No, hold on. We're not in NASCAR Minute yet. We're not in NASCAR Minute yet.
background music. I'm just thinking like
So this is Dale Jarrett here to the right, 3-time Daytona 500 winner, and he's a current analyst for NBC. So I was in Kansas this weekend for the playoff race, doing some Big J journalism for Pinwheels and Ivy. And you know, after the after the race or whatever, we're going around. I'm walking around the casino. I went with my girlfriend. Most people go on like romantic dates. I take her to Kansas to watch NASCAR with me, and then go be a degenerate in the casino afterwards.
Don't
So-
see a problem with
well
that.
done.
Yeah.
Well done.
So, you know, we're sitting at one of the slot machines or whatever, and some guy came up to me and he's like, "Hey, like, are you a NASCAR fan?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, what gave it away? The big '99 hat I was wearing." Like, and he's like, "Yeah," he's like, "Hey, Dale Jarrett, like the NBC commentator. He's like over there in like high stakes." I'm like, "Oh shit, that's a 3-time Daytona 500." You know, if it was a 1-time Daytona 500 champ, probably wouldn't bother him. I mean, Michael McDowell won a Daytona 500. You know, it's kind of random.
Michael McDonald.
But 3, I'm like, all right, you know what? I may have to go try and talk to him. So we went up there, and I was like looking, and you could see him like doing it, and he looked very frustrated. I could tell he'd lost a couple $100. So I was like, all right, you know what? We're gonna hold off a little bit. And you know, I did want to talk to him, so I'm like, we got to get some liquid courage. He was like at a bar, you know, basically. So I'm like trying to get some like liquid courage to come up and talk to him. So finally, he's done at the slot machine. And he's probably calling his financial advisor because he didn't look too happy and he probably lost a bunch of money and he's on the phone. And then after he got done, some other guy in a Kyle Larson shirt like came up to him and like shook his hand. He's like, "Hey, like, man, I'm a big fan." I'm like, "Okay, like this is my chance." One mouth breather just came up to him. So like, here comes another one. And I come up to say like, "Oh, like, hey," or whatever. Got the photo and whatnot. And I think he was really nice too, you know, gracious with his time and everything. And I think a bunch of other like the NASCAR fans there saw me because the casino's right off turn 2. Like as you leave like the track, it's like right there. So there's a bunch of us NASCAR fans there. And like I think a bunch of other people saw me come up to him, and it just started this like chain of like all of a sudden you look back at his life, and you could tell he was kind of like, "God damn it, you blew my cover." So you know, we sped out of there pretty quick. But
How'd you do in the casino?
I did poorly. My girlfriend did really well. I you know,
What you played? Did you play Buffalo?
No, I just do. I don't even know. I just go. There's some Godfather slot machine. I'm like, "Oh, I like the Godfather," and quickly lost $20 there. And I'm like, "All right, I'm done." But
All right, so I'm gonna start using that "holy cow" clip to interrupt arguments. All right, now let's get into the real stuff. I I thought you left. I was like, damn, dude.
No,
All right.
no, we had to change the background. Get ready for the NASCAR minute there.
All right. Let it go.
The NASCAR pre-show.
Let it rip, Mitch.
That's right. All right. So week 2 was in Kansas this week, and quite the race. Ross Chastain, the Ross Chastain does not give a fuck tour. It continued in Kansas because early in the race, he's battling with Bubba Wallace for some position. They're going 2-ride, corner exit off of turn 4. He just decides, hey, you know what? I'm sick of running with them. So he starts running him up the wall. Well, who happened to be up the wall? Kevin Harvick. So they cut off his nose. And it wasn't really Bubba's fault, but because Bubba got forced up the track, cut off Kevin Harvick's nose. Harvick had to make an evasive maneuver.
Whoa. They're cutting off people's noses in this bitch?
Yes, they are.
This guy definitely cuts people's noses off.
Yeah. So he runs him up the wall. Kevin Harvick hits the wall. His car kind of destroyed. And if you remember last week, Kevin Harvick, who we talked about in the show, the intimidating guy, his car burst into flames. So he didn't finish last week's race. His car's destroyed. He didn't finish this week's race either. He's basically fucked for the playoffs as far as it's concerned. He needs to eat. Yeah, hey, there's Ross Chastain. He's in the chat. It's Ross. But yeah, Ross, he just keeps driving because he's like, I'm sick of running 3-wide. Kevin Harvick, he is out of the race. Later in that first stage, Denny Hamlin, he got slapped with a penalty for equipment interference, so he gets sent to the back of the field. That'll come into play later. So Tyler Reddick, he's leading the race. We talked about him a couple times. He has the guaranteed rate car this week, the number 8 guaranteed rate car. So I'm like, hey, you know what? Kind of White Sox related. Let's have him run up front. He's running well. His right rear tire blows up. He hits the wall. Wobbles. He's trying to get to his pit stall. He kind of looks like a drunk guy coming out of section 108 trying to find the urinal. He's like wobbling around, completely misses the pit stall. His tire's bad, so he has to turn it around and do a mini burnout. He's facing the wrong way. It was a shit show. He gets pushed to the garage. He's out too, so that was kind of bad for his playoff chances now too. He needs to have a good run next week. Stage 2, surprise car running up front. It's Ricky Stenhouse Jr. and the number 47 Sonny D car, one of my favorite cars on the track. And now he's up front. He's getting TV time. I'm like, all right, let's go, Ricky. I love Sonny D. What's not to like? But Ricky Spinhouse, as they call him, he runs into the wall. Of course, we can't have nice things. Debris all over the track. Kyle Busch runs over the debris. And so he needs to go into pit. He's like, hey, I got debris in here. We got to clean this thing up. As he's pitting, he gets a penalty for pit interference too. Someone threw a tire into the wrong stall, rolled away. And so,
damn.
Yeah.
Gee.
So they're rolling. So the right rear tire changer, they have to roll the tire back to the guy over the wall and they'll catch it and pick it up. Hey, there's the Sonny D car too. See, we got all the visuals here today. If you're watching on YouTube, watch the show live, people. If you're listening to this after the fact.
There you go, Mitch.
But anyway, yeah, so he gets a penalty for that. So now he has to go into the back of the field. But Kyle Busch, he has a pretty fast car. So he starts picking people off. He's driving pissed now. He sees a guy who'll pass him, makes another move. He's working his way up the field. It's like Lightning McQueen in that opening scene of Cars where he's just kind of shifting and moving. That's what Kyle Busch looked like. Man on a mission. Yeah, here we go. I'm trying to dumb it down for you. So he's working his way close to the top 10 after being all the way in the back. And then he makes an uncharacteristic Kyle Busch mistake. He kind of misses a turn. He goes flying into the grass. More debris gets on his car. Then he has to start in the back of the field again to clean off the car. His day's basically over, which is a shame because he was statistically the fastest car on the track if you're looking at his lap times. So what are you going to do? Stage 2. Now, these things are getting interesting. Gloves are coming off. Cars are getting a little feisty there on the track. It's a restart. They're going 3-wide. They're going 4-wide. The 43 car hits the 7 car, slams into the wall. He T-bones the 21 car. Right side of Corey LaJoie's number 7 car. It's junk. They were both kind of scrubs anyway, so it didn't really affect the race that much, but it was kind of a cool crash to see. Yeah, there's Joey Logano. He had nothing to do with that crash or this wreck, or really this race in general. He was out there. He was running, I guess, He didn't do bad. He didn't do good. It's just kind of how it is. So final stage. Bubba Wallace. He has a good pit stop. So now he's up front. He'd been running pretty good all day. The pit stop put him in good position. He gets a great restart. So now here he comes. Bubba's ready. Kyle Larson, who is up in front of him in second. He turns a little high. He gets run up the track, misses the turn. Bubba capitalizes, zooms past him. Now all he has to do is run down Alex Bowman in the 48 car. He does that. Now he's basically off to a Sunday drive. He's just kind of sitting there, cruising, picking up the laps. Now his boss, Denny Hamlin, who had the penalty earlier, who had to go into the back. Remember early in this segment, he had the next fastest car after Kyle Busch. He probably would have caught up to Bubba had he not had that penalty. But because of the penalty, he had to start so far back, was out by 2 seconds, couldn't run down his employee. Bubba Wallace wins, becomes the winningest black driver in NASCAR history, historic day. And I was very happy for Bubba because his first win was in Talladega. and it was after a rain delay. They didn't pick up the race, so they didn't even run all the laps. So everyone was like, oh, well, that win doesn't count. It's a Mickey Mouse win. It was rigged. NASCAR just did it for it. So Bubba went out there. He kicked some ass. He showed everyone he is a good driver, and I was quite happy for him. I was also happy end of the race, too, because Bubba was kind of running away with it near the end. My guy, Daniel Suarez, he needed to get in the top 10 for playoff points. The guy ahead of him was Chase Elliott. He ran that son of a bitch down on the last 3 laps, past Chase Elliott. Very happy day for me. Chase Elliott Daniel Suarez gets the top 10. Bubba Wallace wins. Overall, good day on the track.
Here, God damn it, that's an order. I got a Bubba.
BJ McLeod, keep him up on the screen. Last week, I don't know if you remember, I promised you 5 fun BJ McLeod facts.
Yes, you did.
Yes.
Yeah. So I usually at these sporting events, I try and get like a program because they don't do ticket stubs anymore. So like I used to collect ticket stubs. So now I just try and collect programs. So you're going through the program and they have like all the drivers and they have like interesting facts about them. So I'm like, all right, I'll just use a couple from here. So an example is like Joey Logano. They had interesting facts like him, like 2018 Cup Series champion, 2015 Daytona 500 winner, 2009 Rookie of the Year. So, like pretty standard stuff. BJ McLeod, this is what they had for him. Born on November 17th, 1983. First Cup Series start at New Hampshire in 2015. Those are the only 2 things they had about our boy BJ McLeod. Right?
That's fantastic.
So,
Your homework assignment, Mitch, is to find out how that man got money.
So, yeah, I'll do a little bit more digging. Here's the facts I got for you now. Next week, I will find out exactly how he got all this money, but these are like semi-interesting because there's not a whole lot of information.
Probably one of those multi-level marketing schemes.
Yes.
Well, he began racing ATVs at the age of 3.
That makes sense.
That's how he got to start. He began running go-karts at the age of 5, so he'd been racing all of his life. And by the age of 26, he had won 200 races and 22 championships in different like short track divisions. So he's just hopping around the countries like winning races. So eventually he worked his way up to Xfinity Series, which is kind of like the AAA for NASCAR's first Xfinity start. He gets in a wreck, does not finish the race. And his average finish this season is 28th. So there you go. There's your facts for the week.
Using Bubba Wallace's icon, I have to tell you this, that these kids, like the people that actually become NASCAR drivers, are like driving heavy machinery, operating heavy machinery at like age 4. They're rolling these things out. They're riding on grass driving courses too, in the middle of nowhere on these circuits. Like it's awesome. Like Mitch, I blame you. I started researching. Started to sing, holy shit, it's a lifetime, again, through my Bubba Wallace icon. But holy hell. And
Holy cow.
There it is.
And that's the NASCAR minute.
There it was.
All right. Well, I have nothing else. Do you guys got anything else before we wrap it up?
I'm just about out of breath after all that NASCAR talk and wasting everyone's precious time here.
I've
The NASCAR minute.
I have definitely found myself paying more attention to NASCAR now since we started doing the NASCAR minutes. Like before the show started, I knew Bubba Wallace won the race.
But Mitch, can you not see the top of the screen that talks about like how many people join during the NASCAR minute, like how many viewers we have?
Tripled.
I cannot see.
It's like a massive jump. Like all of a sudden, it's like
It's like 3 to
triple. When I say anything at all about the White Sox, it goes like really down to like 2, like now, and then it goes back up. NASCAR minute 100.
All right.
Wait, Mitch. When's the last race for the playoffs for the NASCAR playoffs?
Yeah,
It is November 6th, I believe, or late. It's either late October or first week in November. Is the championship?
Okay. World
We have a
Series
Vegas
time.
race. We have a Vegas race coming, don't we?
do. That's a huge race too. That's gonna be round of 8 in Vegas.
Go to it, Kevin. Go to it.
Free tickets. Should I use them then? Obviously.
You got free tickets?
Oh
Yeah, always.
Mitch, you're
10
young,
wheels
dude.
race at
Get on-
Vegas, baby.
Give it to
Mitch,
Mitch.
you're young.
Tony Logano and BJ McLeod.
Get on a fucking plane, Mitch. You're young, dude.
And on Saturday, we know the Silverton car. Just saying. That's my last experience was in the pit.
You should definitely go to the Vegas one. That's gonna be a huge race. I recommend.
Is it really like that? It's that big, huh?
It's that's kind of when they get down to the nitty gritty. That's where you separate the men from the boys. There, the Chase Briscoes of the world and the Austin Dillons have been eliminated. Now it's the heavy hitters.
They send free passes out to teachers every year too, like where you get like 8 free passes and like teachers like use it and they sell them on Craigslist. It's great. It's a racket. It's actually a teacher racket. They canceled
Is that
now.
like the book it thing where you get Pizza Hut things if you read a book?
Yeah. Except you go to NASCAR.
Same difference.
Yeah.
All right. So for Mitch
That's how BJ
Fitz,
got his money.
Yep. Now it makes
There we
that
go.
makes sense. So for Mitch Fitz, although I'm Zoe, hopefully it's a happier show next week.
It will be.
Go get them, Lance.
Angers.
Take care of each other. We'll see you next week.